Tonight's big story. Auckland is under its third state of emergency this year due to severe weather. The city's been hit with torrential rain throughout most of the day, causing widespread flooding and commuter chaos as traffic was brought to a standstill. Fire and Emergency received over 300 weather-related calls for help in Auckland, and as Zane Small reports, it's brought back terrifying memories.
This is the fourth time this year Rupinder Banga's West Auckland property has flooded.
Flooding like the ones that you saw today, that's quite common.
We first met him and his wife Amrita in January after their home was destroyed during the Auckland anniversary floods. His house was deemed unlivable and seeing it happen again is painful.
When my wife went and had a look, she was crying on the phone. Even, we're not there. She's like, it's hard to just see your property getting flooded over and over again.
West Aucklanders have had enough. It's the fifth time this year Trisha Maisuria's property has flooded.
And this keeps happening and happening. Not good for anyone. Sorry.
Sunnyvale Primary School in the West Auckland suburb of Henderson was evacuated this morning, and in Clevedon, footage shows how a paddock turned into a lake. The community wants more action from authorities, though Mayor Wayne Brown said yesterday he prefers a storm resilience over managed retreat for compromised properties.
It's pretty disappointing, to be honest. We were actually, hoping that they will back the community to solution around managed retreat.
The Mayor's in Australia on business, but he didn't hesitate this time to declare a state of local emergency as the city once again was underwater.
We've seen flooding across the region and it's fairly widespread right throughout.
Auckland region has received 90% of its annual normal rainfall in the first one-third of the year.
In East Auckland, staff at an early learning centre ferried kids to their parents through floodwaters that rose quickly.
We noticed that it was getting more and more rain coming in off the road, and it was gushing down our driveway. We noticed our playground was floating, and then we just started evacuating the children as it started to enter the building.
Flooding also inundating Browns Bay on the North Shore. This was Dairy Flat, and even Waiheke Island was affected. Fire and Emergency received 286 weather-related calls for help in Auckland between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
These call-outs mostly include flooding that has entered properties. There has been some call-outs to slips, fallen trees, and the odd vehicle that's been trapped in floodwaters as well.
The weather brought traffic to an absolute standstill across the city, some motorists taking 5 hours to get home. Commuters lined the streets of the CBD, huddled under shelters and umbrellas, waiting for severely delayed bus services.
Obviously the weather events have had a significant impact on our network throughout the day. Roads
turned to rivers, a sobering sight that's become synonymous with Auckland in 2023. Zane Small, Newshub.
Well, Auckland's acting Mayor Desley Simpson joins us now. And Desley, just another huge day of rain for the city. What's the latest tonight?
Oh, look, it's been a really challenging day for Auckland, and we do remain in a state of local emergency after a day of, heavy rain that's seen, as you've seen, of widespread flooding throughout the region. I really want to thank Aucklanders for heeding the warnings and being as prepared as they could, and for their patience as they navigated some really tricky conditions and challenges getting home this afternoon and this evening. Look, the latest update from the Met Service is that the worst of the weather has now passed, and that's really good news. All weather warnings for the Auckland region have now been lifted, but not all streams have reached their peak, so you still may see some surface flooding or flash flooding around streams, gullies, and some of the urban areas. Look, as you've mentioned, emergency services have coped really well with today's events. Fire and Emergency New Zealand reported about 280 flooding-related call-outs, while police reported more than 250 related weather jobs in just 4.5 hours this afternoon. Look, and a reminder to parents and caregivers, a state of local emergency declaration does not mean schools will close. So that any school that has has a need to close due to flooding or damage to building will contact parents and caregivers directly. But you should be able to go to school tomorrow.
Okay.
From a transport perspective, look, that's been really challenging. And despite of a lot of disruption today because of the weather, they expect travel tomorrow to start resuming to normal. Some road closures, however, will remain in place in places that were hit the hardest by rainfall, but most train services are now running on schedule, except for the Onehunga line, which is currently suspended until further notice. That line has had a temporary taxi van operating, and that closes down, though, at 10:30 tonight, so just about now. The Eastern Line is operating between Manukau and Otahuhu. Most buses are back within a few minutes of schedule, but part of the northern busway between Akarana and Smales Farm will have a detour because of some roadworks there, which started about 9 o'clock tonight. Okay. No stations will be missed, though, but travel times may be affected. Look, from a ferries perspective, we're continuing to experience a lot of disruption with them, not just due to weather, but due to a lot of debris in the water as well. So, but for the latest transport, I think the best thing is to check your AT mobile app, and especially the live departures on the AT website.
Wonderful. Well, Desiree Simpson, thank you for that comprehensive update.
No worries. Thank you.